Hello, today I have a tutorial for you, a cute scarf, a perfect beginner project if you haven't really made anything before. I'm going to show you how to do the stitches, how to put it together, how to make the granny squares, how to do the trim, the whole thing. And this is a perfect project if you've got some leftover yarn, stuff that you don't know what to do with. This is what I'm using over here. You're gonna want to use double knit for this project. I'm using double knit acrylic. Most of this is acrylic. This is I think it's still acrylic, but it's a baby yarn, so it's a little bit softer, but this is my color selection. If you want to follow exactly like how I've done it, you're going to want 4 different colors, and one of them is a repeated color. I'll show you the squares now. So this is the granny square we're going to be creating, and we're just going to be repeating this to create the scarf. So the other things you're going to need for this is a 4mm hook. You can size up or down if you want. This is just my preference for the yarn I'm using. If you're using something different, go ahead and do what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make the granny squares, and then we'll get to putting them together. Okay, so you're going to want to pick your middle color first. This is our center of the square. Then you're going to want to do a magic ring. I'll show you how I do this. So take the yarn between my ring finger and my thumb, twist it around the back of my fingers and cross it over. So there's this little kind of X shape. Take this finger and kind of hold it there. Take your hook, go in this side, grab this side, pull it round, catch in your yarn and slip stitch through, tighten it. That's your magic ring. So you're going to start with one of those, then we're going to chain 2, so yarn over, pull through both of those. Then you're just going to move this little string out the way because we're just crocheting into this ring bit. Don't worry about that for now. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into this ring. So if you don't know how to double crochet, you yarn over, through the ring, catch your yarn, through the first 2 loops, through the second 2 loops. So over, through. Sorry if I'm doing that a bit quick for you guys, but you can have a look at some tutorials if you don't know how to do the stitches. So then we're just going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets into the ring. Another chain 2, another 3 double crochets, another chain 2, and another 3 double crochets, and 1 final chain 2. This is what it should be looking like. Then you're going to take this loose yarn and you're just going to pull it to close up your ring. Pull it as tight as you can, and then knot it in the back to keep it in place. So then it should look like this, and you're just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 2 you started with there to close the square. And that's your first little row. So then you're going to chain 2, turn it over. It's really important when you're doing granny squares to turn over your square each row. If you don't, the square's going to warp and it's going to like shift to one side, so you want to be turning it to make it lay flat. Into this corner space here, we're going to do 2 double crochets. That first chain 2 is going to count as a double crochet. Chain 2, and another 3 double crochets into that same corner space. Then you're just going to chain 1, and into this corner space you're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and another 3 double crochets. You'll see quite quickly that this is quite a repetitive pattern. This is pretty much what we do in all the rows, but I'll show you the next row anyway, just so you know what you're doing. Chain 1 and then follow that same process in the last corner, and then we're gonna stitch it closed again. Okay, so 1 final chain after you've done that last corner, and then we're going to slip stitch into that top chain of the starting chain. We're going to pull it through and fasten off. And that's the beginning of that section. We're gonna sew in the ends a bit later, so don't worry about that for now. So next we're gonna pick our next colour. So then, remembering what I said earlier, you always want to be turning around your project for each row. So this was the way up we did the last row, so we're gonna go in at this side. We're gonna just do a slip stitch to fasten on into any one of your gaps. I would say don't do the corner ones, stick to one of the side ones. Then we're going to do chain 2 and 2 double crochets. Chain 1 into the corner space, 3 double crochets, 2 chains and another 3 double crochet, and then you're just going to repeat this exact same pattern around the whole square, just like we did on this second row here. Okay, so I'm just at the end of my row here. I'm going to chain 1 and again slip stitch into that top chain, stitch there, so it should be looking like this. I've turned it round, ready for the next row, and we're going to go ahead and do our next colour. So every single row of this square is exactly what I've shown you so far. So you're going to want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows in total. I'm going to complete those off camera and then I'll come back and show you how to put 2 of them together. In total I've got 14 squares, so if you want to make 14 squares, if you want to darn in your ends as you go like I have, make sure you just leave out the 2 on the end just so they don't get in the way when we crochet them together. Sometimes when I darn in ends it messes up the chains that I want to work through later, so I always leave them until the end to sew them in. Okay, so now we're going to connect them all together. I'll show you what this technique looks like. The thing with a scarf is you obviously want it to look good on both sides, so we're going to sew them together rather than crocheting them together. It's quite nice and neat, I think. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do now. You're going to have to take 2 of your squares and make sure this outside row is the same on both of them, so these sides don't match, these sides do, if that makes sense. Place them down like this, take your outside row colour and cut a piece of yarn. This needs to be long enough to sew up this side and then go back the other way on the other side. So something like this should be fine, it doesn't have to be too long. Okay, so I'm going to take a darning needle, if I can, and just thread it onto the end of my yarn like that, just a fair bit in so it doesn't come out, but you don't have to knot the end. So if you can see, we've got 2 stitches at the top of each of our rows. We're going to go into this side closest to the side we're working on first, so these front stitches here and these front stitches here. So in our corner we've got 2 chains. We're going to go into this front loop of this first chain. You're going to pull it through so there's a reasonable end on the end, just so it doesn't pull through later. And then we're going to go into this piece, the same chain, but this back loop, not this front one closest to us, this back one. Pull it tight so they're connected, and then you're just going to want to go through that start one a second time just to secure it. If you hold down the end that you've left, it shouldn't pull through. So that's where we're starting. Then we're going to just go through each of the stitches in these same loops. So front loop here, front loop there. Always going in from the same direction, so we're always starting here, ending on that square. When you get to the chains, it's the same process, so you're just going to want to go in through like that and just continue that until you get to the end of the row, and then I'll show you how to turn around. You might find it easier to just have it laid flat and go in like this with it laying flat. This is how I do it. I definitely find this easier than picking it up. Okay, so for your final stitch, you're going to want to, just like how we started, go into that first chain of the corner, and then you're literally going to just put the needle through that whole stitch again and turn it over so that we can now work on this side. This side is basically exactly the same as the previous side. As you can see, we're not connected yet. I'll just show you. To start off, we're going to want to secure this side, so we're already in. We'll go down like that, and then it's exactly the same as what we did on the other side, so starting in the bottom, going through the top, bottom, top, and you'll find that it's much quicker on this side because we've already connected the other side. And you're just going to keep on doing that until you reach the end. Okay, so I've just reached the end of my row. I've gone through that last corner chain stitch, and I'm just going to do that one more time to secure it, just like how we started. And then I'm also going to just go back through there all the way through to the other side, just to make it extra secure. Trim that off and then sew in both of those ends there. You're going to want to follow this process with all 14 squares for the whole scarf, and then we'll come back and do the trim. Okay, once your whole scarf is connected, we're going to work on a trim. As you can see, we go in a little bit at the corners of the scarf where we've attached them. If we give it a trim, it'll give it a nice straight edge. So take the end of your scarf, one of the ends, doesn't matter which one, take your edging colour. You can do this trim in a different colour if you'd like. I'm going to do it in the same green. So we're just going to do a slip knot, pop in the hook, and we're just going to start on this square next to the corner. We're going to go in. This is going to be much like the granny square pattern. The only bit that will be a bit different is these connecting pieces. So we'll start with a chain 2 and then 2 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochet, and then just carry that on until you reach your first corner, and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so you're going to do chain 1 after that last cluster of 3, 1 double crochet into the first gap there, then you're going to yarn over, pull through that first one and the second loop all in one go. Then you're going to go through the first 2 and then the last 2 all in one. So your middle stitch of this 3 connects them both together, and then you're going to do 1 double crochet in there like that. Chain 1 and then carry on as normal. I'll show you that one more time on the next one just so you get what I'm saying, but this is, you know, makes it nice and straight. Okay, so I'm here again, so I'm going to do 1 double crochet, yarn over, pull through the first loop, the second loop, first 2 stitches, final 3 stitches. It can be a little bit fiddly, and then 1 more double crochet in there. So you're going to want to continue this around your whole thing at the corners, doing the same as we did for these rows until you reach back to your initial starting chain. Okay, so once you've finished your edging, it should look like this. You can go ahead and block it if you want it to be super snatched. I'm lazy and I don't block anything. Anyway, you can leave it like this if you want. This is super cute. I'm gonna go ahead and add an edge, a scalloped edge. So I'm gonna show you how to do that now. I think I'm gonna do it in the pink that's in the middle, just because I think that would be cute and so it's not too green. Okay, so I'm gonna take my pink, attach it on in this closest square to the corner with a slip stitch, and I'm gonna half double crochet into the first stitch of the 3 double crochets on the row below. Then I'm gonna do 3 double crochets in this middle stitch. 1, 2, 3. And then a half double crochet to finish that set of 3, and then a slip stitch in there. And then I'm going to repeat that on the next set. So half double crochet, 3 double crochet into the same stitch, half double crochet, and a slip stitch. So you see you get this cute kind of frilly vibe. You're now going to follow that same pattern across the whole scarf. When you get to the corners, just do it the exact same, slip stitching in that gap just like you would any other. And then once you reach the front, slip stitch back into the same one you started with, or into that slip stitch stitch, whatever you prefer, and then darn in the rest of your ends. It's me again, it's the next day. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. That's your finished scarf. I love it. I think it's super cute. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it easy to follow along. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I will do my best to help. I have more tutorials coming. I also have some shorter ones on my TikTok that you can check out, and I post all my crochet stuff over there and on Instagram as well if you want to see more of what cute things that I make. Bye!